Hello guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome to another movie review. Tonight we're looking at another 2024 horror film. We're looking at Mia Goth in Maxxxine. This is by Ty West and it's the third film in his X franchise, if you like. He released Pearl, X and now Maxxxine, which follows the same story of Maxxine Minx, who was in the sort of X story. Now she plays like this sort of porn star who wants to become an actress. She's fed up of being in this sort of stuck in this kind of porn industry and wants to get out and become an actress. And she goes to an audition and gets her first big break to star in a horror film. And she's successful, she gets the part, but her past is following her, and she has this she gets all these sort of like hints from the past, like a videotape which shows clips of her in X, sort of like in this sort of thing, and she's sort of like getting almost blackmailed to sort of like go and visit this guy who's this bloke that she needs to go and visit, or they're going to release the story of her past, which is going to ruin her career before it starts. And it's not long before Maxxine's up to her old tricks. There is one part of the film where she's getting chased by this guy. And this is filmed in the 80s. It's supposed to be set in the 80s, whereas X is in the 70s, and obviously Pearl's before that. And it's sort of following on from X, and she's now trying to make it as this actress. And it's based on the time when we had the Ramirez, the Night Stalker serial killer in New York and Hollywood and California and that. And this is set in this time. And there's lots of news bulletins about this Night Stalker. And then all of Maxxine's friends start to get bumped off, getting killed, and sort of left with like the Satan sort of mark which the Night Stalker sort of left on his victims. But these murders are not done by the Night Stalker. Anyway, like I said, she's not long till she's up to her old tricks. She's been chased through the alleyway by some guy, and she carries a gun with her and stuff, and she kills him pretty much quite straight off. So we get a kill from her not long into the film. She's a bit of a sort of loose cannon, isn't she? She's trying to change her ways, but her past and her brain sort of catches up with her. And we got a couple of detectives sort of trying to find out who this killer is that's killing off these porn stars and friends of Maxxine. And it almost slightly starts off playing off like a giallo almost. It's got that sort of feel at the beginning of the film, but it doesn't take long till it veers away from that, which is a shame because I'd like it to follow that sort of giallo kind of way. I thought, oh, that's been a great take on the film. Anyway, there is giallo elements to the film, and sort of like so we meet these detectives and they're trying to question her. She doesn't want to have nothing to do with them because of her past in the porn industry, and obviously she doesn't want the stuff that she did in the film X to catch up with her too. So she's trying to avoid all this. And she's got this sort of agent who's pretty cool, actually. He's quite a cool guy, and he doesn't take any shit. And there's one part when she's followed by this private investigator who's played by Kevin Bacon, and he succumbs to his end by her agent and stuff like this, and that's quite cool. And there's some quite cool deaths in the film. And there's some black humour in the film. And the film sort of plays along, and we don't see, and she sort of befriends her director of the film, who sort of likes her and has got confidence in her. But all the sort of other people she meets, any other actresses, they sort of get bumped off in the film, and we're trying to find out who is bumping them off, and who is this guy that's hired the private investigator to stalk Maxxine. And that sort of gets unrevealed in the film, which I'm not going to reveal, obviously, in this sort of thing. And there's all sorts of things going on outside the film studios. There's all these sort of protests over this horror film that's being made because it's satanic, apparently. We don't see any of the making of it, which is a shame. That would have been pretty cool. And as the film sort of unfolds, it sort of changes direction slightly in different ways, and some of them good and some of them not so good. Um, and and I would have liked to have seen more of Mia Goth's character doing more sort of bad things, because she's sort of semi-good in this as well as semi sort of like psychotic. Um, and it's kind of like, okay, well, this has lost direction a little bit, but it doesn't stop it from being cool and really good. I really enjoyed the film, and there's some good sort of kills in the film. But the way the direction it went, I didn't like it. And the most negative of the film, I think, is the last 10 minutes. The ending of the film, I didn't like at all. Really, I thought the ending was disappointing. But apart from that, the film was pretty good. The setup was good, and the way it sort of unfolded was really cool. And there's some really cool shots in the film when we go around some of the sets in the Hollywood, where we get like the psycho sort of setup with the motel and the house on the hill and all this sort of thing. So there's some really cool sort of shout outs in the film, which is really cool. I'm going to score this film an awesome watch and give it a 9 out of 10. It's still a really high score because it was really good. It was a really cool film, and really Mia Goth's performance was really, really excellent. I say just the ending spoilt the film. That's why it's dropped a point. It probably would have been a 10 out of 10 if it was a better ending, and maybe if it followed the sort of the first or two, the first third, and maybe a bit the second of third of the film. It plays out like a giallo almost, but then it sort of goes into like an American sort of Hollywood horror film, and it sort of loses its way a little bit. But it still doesn't take anything out of being a good fun time. The pluses of it, it looks really nice. It's filmed really well. Now, the 80s atmosphere is good and it's not. That they've hit it right with the soundtrack and the costumes and the clothes, but they tried to make it look so 80s by putting these little clips together, and that just silly. Like you have the Hollywood sign go across the screen. You know what we know this. This is just, we know where it is, you know, and all this sort of thing, and it just sort of takes it out of the film a little bit. But just leave it as it is. We can guess it's the 1980s. Again, I don't know if the American audience need this pumped into them. That is set in the 80s to remind them. I don't know, because just like in the other film that I watched the other day, Longlegs, where they felt the need to explain to us what's happened, it's almost they do the same sort of thing here in this a little bit. I don't get that. That sort of takes you out of the film, which is a shame, and it loses a point for that. But apart from that, it's a really, really cool film. The acting is okay. It's pretty good. There's some good actors in there. Kevin Bacon's cool. He's quite funny as the private investigator. Mia Goth is superb, and the guy that plays her agent was really cool as well. Really good sort of like cast and really well played out. The gore is minimal. There is some quite harsh scenes in the film when it does happen. But it's quite, there's not that much gore in there to sort of really go sort of like crazy over. But there is some in there, and it's really cool, and I really enjoyed it. I just thought it just didn't know what to do with itself. Is it going to be a giallo, or are we going to be a serial killer film, chasing this serial killer with these cops and Mia Goth sort of caught up within it, or are we going to play something else? It sort of got a little bit lost along the way. It's sort of blonk, 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 okay, and there's your film, the end. And it was like, it played out a little bit like that. I still enjoyed it, and I'm still going to give it a 9 out of 10. If any of you guys seen it, let me know down below what you think of it. I thought it was cool. It probably will be in my top 10 films of horror films of 2024. I'm questioning it because there's another film that I like that's just on the outside of that top 10. So it's going to be a close call. Is it going to get into my top 10? If you want to see if it does, you need to watch that video when it comes out and see if it makes it in the top 10. A lot of people really liked it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good fun film. Was it as good as X? I think it's on the same level. I think Pearl is still the best of the three of the films, but it's probably on the same level as X. So it was good fun, and that's why I'm going to leave this review. Until my next video, guys, please check out some horror channels. Check out Horror Hands, Horror Geek, Man View Film, RS Design, Pizzlewell. I'm Ice Lord, Cat watches horror movies, Grumpy Andrew's Haunted House, and The Maniac. And a massive shout out to my lad. Till next time, look after yourselves, look after one another, and I really hope I see you all soon. Cheers, guys.